Thursday evening for our Crafty Wafty along. I hope you all had a lovely break last week. I certainly did. Just thought I'd have a night off for a change, you know. But anyway, so I'm bringing you this evening the Winky Wafty Woowah mini album, which is a bit of what I call an upgrade or an evolution, is a good word, to the Dinkywinkydoodah, hence the name. Okay. So if you haven't downloaded your free cutting and scoring instructions, I suggest you get that done sharpish before we put our price tag on that. Okay, so I'm just going to pop them out the way for just a moment. So we're just waiting to see who we've got joining us this evening. Please do put a comment in the video, you know, in the comments section, and yeah, you know, just to say hi, hello, where you're from, etc, etc. That would be fantastic. Okay, so while we're just waiting to see who we have watching us, we'll crack on with what we're going to be doing tonight. Now, I thought, first of all, if you haven't seen the videos out there already, I will put I will sort of do a quick little flick through. So it's 4.5 by 4 inches, this album. It's got a little magnetic closure. I've gone with a travel theme paper decorating this one, and throughout the album I have used the lovely Mexican dyes. To think for a minute. Good evening, Deborah, lovely, welcome. Who else have we got? I think, was that Nina saying hi? Wonderful, nice of you to join us this evening. You're more than welcome, by the way, Nina. So what was I saying? Yeah, so these are the Mexican dyes from Cool Cats Craft Limited. Okay, and they give these lovely different edges and so forth. So you'll notice as I've gone through the album, I've used those throughout. I've used their little pocket ones, and I've used the little belly band ones, and I've followed that all the way through. Now, when it came to writing up the cutting and scoring instructions for this, I thought, oh, if not everybody's got access to the dyes, what we're going to do. So basically, the measurements I have done for a pretty much standard album, okay? And I will say that with the patterned papers, you might need to adjust slightly on your cutting when you come to put those on, because I did sort of feature in where I was doing these little fancy cuts and everything on the pages and so forth. So just to bear that in mind when you come to cut your pattern papers, that you might need to tweak a little bit here and there. But I think in general, I think that's where we're at. So the plan for tonight is to get the album base done, get the hinges done, do the stacked pockets, and then we'll start working our way through some of the pages. Now this one is just a nice little vertical pocket. I've got lots of lovely photo mats and that tucked in on that one. So look, this is a little flap that goes up. There we are. This is a nice acetate one. So again, a little pocket there with some hidden papers behind that. This is the little belly band. So that sort of tucks out there. We've got this one, which is the little accordion, and this has like a little magnetic closure on there, and that opens up like so. I'm just going to clip that on the top there. We've got a little curved insert pocket die as well. Now this again is also from Cool Cats Craft Limited. Lovely ladies over there, Maggie and Kay, so do pop over and have a little look, see what they've got. Then I've done a diagonal pocket here, and then on this one I've just opened it up as a flap. This has got a magnet in there which sort of holds that photo mat into place, and then we've got our stacked pockets which I've done at the front. Okay, so that's what we're aiming to have a go at. Now I'm just going to pop that over there for the moment. So with my lovely cutting and scoring instructions, you'll see got a nice little bit of demo like description there on the front, and then on the back here I've sort of written in like the resources. Excuse all my scribbles, it's just me checking off as I'm going along, but you'll find here all the construction, album cover, hinges, pattern papers and so forth as we go through. All right, shall we make a start? So who else have we got watching tonight? Let's have a little look. We've got is that Lillian? Welcome Lillian, and Brenda as well. So please do pop a comment in, so you know where you're from. It'd be lovely to know that. So as you can see, look, I'm all pre-planned tonight. I have been, trouble is, I've been working on about 4 projects all in one go at the moment, and things are getting a little bit messy in my craft room. I'll get to the point now I'm thinking, what am I working on this evening? But I know what I'm working on this evening. So if I happen to say that something random, don't worry. It's just my brain ticking over, doing 10 to the dozen as usual. Okay, so let's just put these bits out the way. So then my little base pages, we've got the hinge. So we're going to do that. And here are my construction board bits here as well. Hi, Susie. I didn't realise, Susie, you was all the way in Lancashire, bless you. I can see why coming down to where I am in Essex is would be a bit of a trek now. Okay, right, so shall we make a start then? So what have I got here? And please do put on the chat as well if you're actually crafting along with me. Okay, that would be great to know. And you know, and do by all means pop in the comments any questions you have, if there's any things you want me to go over, if you weren't sure what I'd said, I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, so let's make a start then. So here we are, we've got our 2 construction board covers and our spine. So very simply on this one, I'm literally just going to glue these down. Okay, I'll just try and pop these on. So while I'm just gluing this, I can't believe the weather has changed. Well, it certainly has here in Essex. It was quite a bit chilly earlier today. I was almost tempted to go and put a cardigan on. So I don't know how the weather is with everybody else. Right, I'm just sticking that on there, and I'm allowing probably about a 3/4 of an inch round the outside, because that will get folded over. Okay, now I always say to everybody, if when you're doing your albums, okay, you can use like a lovely little ruler or something just to sort of keep you in check and keep all your pieces in line with what you're doing. So right, what did Susie say? Oh, Deborah's crafting along, lovely. I do like looking at all your videos and all your photos of the past ones that we've done, to be honest. You know, it's really lovely that you share those, because you know it means so much to see my designs sort of flourish, and you know just how everybody else takes on my design and decorates it and so forth. So I absolutely love seeing those. So do please continue with that. Now I'm going to pop this in, and I'm allowing about 1/8 of an inch gap. So using my little ruler here at the bottom, I'm just allowing that. There are on the market loads of like tools for bookmaking tools, like you can get little T-shaped rulers and things like that. But you know what? This works just as well. Okay, so not a problem. Oh, bless you, Deborah, thank you for that. I love what Susie's put, actually. She's put here, she wants to craft along but can only cut non-patterned paper so far. Don't worry, Susie, we're just going through all the basics. And as you well know, that these videos, although they're on Facebook, they stay on here for about 30 days and then they get taken down. So I do upload these onto our YouTube channel. If you haven't been over and had a little look over there, you'll find you know what we've been sort of working on as well. And I do try and get them uploaded within a day or two of the live, okay, so that everybody's ready. Okay, so I've now stuck all 3 pieces down. Those of you that have seen me do this before, obviously you can just sort of crack on with what you're doing. Okay, I'm just going to get my little bone folder, a little Bernie bone folder, and I'm just going to score just around here gently. I'm just easing those papers because when I come to fold this edge over, I just want it to be able to bend nicely without having too much stress on the paper. Okay, so I'll just pop that on there, and now I'm just going to give that a little wiggle like so. Oh, let's put the glue lid back on. Honestly, the amount of times I've left the glue lid off and then I can't get the glue out. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has done that. But there we go. Right, so we're just sort of folding these. I'm just going to move that little album out of the way for the minute. Right, okay. So that's giving them a little tease, as it were. Now, one of my tips, as I've said before, when we come to miter off the corners, just in case you don't cut it straight enough, I just black out the corners around the edge with a Sharpie or a felt pen. It's just that when you fold it over, you don't get to see any of the construction board. So it's just a little trick that I like to do. There we are. We just sort of come over this side and just run that along. And trust me, it's easier to do it before you folded it than afterwards. Okay, and I'm just going to come along there and tuck that down there. So I hope those of you that joined us for our birthday evening enjoyed that. We had lots of fun. You know, it's really lovely to see people's birthday mystery albums that they made. So thank you again for sharing those. Right, here we are. So as you can see, I have gone round on each of the corners, and I'm just going to cut. I'm not. I'm running away myself. Let's add some red liner tape and then cut it. Here we go. Right, I'm going to run that red liner tape all the way along. Now, just to give you a heads up, I know some of you have been waiting for us to get the red liner tape in the shop. Okay, the order was placed, so keep a lookout because it's coming very soon, along with a load of magnets and everything else as well. Okay, and I think and I hope we found ourselves a supplier for the lovely construction tape that we use as well. So do keep a lookout on our store. I keep telling my guys that these are our basics. We need these, you know, we absolutely do need them. So do keep a lookout for those. So as you can see, I'm just putting the red liner tape around the edge of our cover. Let's just do the other side. Here we go. I'm just using some 9mm here, but 12 will do. That's fine. Okay. All right, now I can do the cutting. I was getting ahead of myself. Oh, goodness me. Honestly, if you could see what I've been working on these last couple of days, I'm surprised my poor brain can cope with it all at the moment. But we've got some amazing goodies coming up to show you, which I can't wait. It's really excited. Right, focus, Deborah. Okay, so in our corners, what we're going to do is we are going to cut away from that corner across as a diagonal. We're going to miter the corner, but we're going to leave a little bit of the black card away from that corner. So we're not cutting right up to the corner, we are coming away a bit. And what you want to try and do is come away about the depth and just a little bit extra of your card, okay, of your construction card. So I'm just going to cut across like so, and hopefully when we fold those over that will work. And you'll see why now we put the black in the corners, because sometimes if you cut it too short, you might see some of the construction board poking out. Okay, and why we've got the red liner tape on first is because obviously when I cut these corners, then it comes right up to the edge there. So we're just going to cut along those. Right, let's get rid of them. All right, and as always, for me, it's just my personal preference, I always work with the longer sides first. Okay, so I'm just going to peel that off. A little red liner tape. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue just to stick in that gap there, because we haven't got any red liner tape on that bit. So just adding a little bit of extra glue, and we're just going to fold that over. And as I fold it over, I'm just giving it a gentle pull just to make sure that it's nice and tight against the edge of that construction board. Okay, right, so we've done that side, and while I'm here, I'm going to get my little burnish tool, and I'm just going to give that a little dent in there for the minute. That will just help stretch these fibres ready for when we come to folding up our album. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side with a little bit of glue just coming along there, like so. And again, I'm just going to bring this up. Now, I'm showing you one method of covering your album cover, but if you've been watching any of my other videos, you will see where I've actually gone all the way around it in construction tape, or the black tape, this stuff, where I've actually gone round and covered it all round to cover the edges, but not everybody has access to that, so I'll just show you how to do this way. Okay, so that one now folds up lovely, and so does that one. And now we're going to come on to the corners. Now on the corners here, sometimes you have a little bit of a, I call it like a little ear, so I'm just going to poke it in gently with my finger, like so. I don't know if you can see that, just poke that in just a little bit, tuck that in, and now I'm going to again add some glue on there. I'll peel off that tape, and we're going to stick these two ends down, and this is where we'll see whether I was good with my cutting or not. Let's have a little look. Was I too close, or did I have it just right? Oh, well, that one's covered and that one's covered, so that's good. That's all good stuff. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm just going to tuck in those little ears like so. There we are. I'm just going to peel that off, add a little bit of glue to that, and that, in a nutshell, as she says, is our album cover made. Perfect. Okay. I'm assuming, Deborah, your woohoo is because of the red liner tape, because I know we've been waiting on it to come in. So, and I said to my sister-in-law, I said, right, we need it, and we need loads of it. So, yeah. Okay. So that is our little album cover. So I'm just going to put that to one side. Now we're going to go with our hinge. So I'm just going to get my little, everything seems miniature because it is all small, working with the small stuff. Today I've been working with the big stuff. Oh, absolutely, she says. Yeah, no, totally. We've been waiting a while. Okay, so our hinge is 4.5 by 4.5. Let's just measure that. That says 4 1/4, Deb. That's right, 4 1/4. Do you know, I've got my glasses on as well tonight, you know. Just getting a little bit excited about things. Right, okay, so we've got 4.5 by 4 1/4, okay. And what we want is the 4.5 side at the top, okay, and we're going to score to make our hinge. So we are scoring at 1 inch, then 1.5. Then we are scoring at 2, then 2.5, then 3, and then finally 3.5. So this album has 2 hinges to it. Okay, let's just pop that out the way. Okay, so you should end up with 1 inch either end, and then you've got 1/2 inches all the way along. So just to make sure that we get these right, I'm just going to write on a bit of pencil that that's going to be tape, that's going to be no tape, that's going to be my gap. It almost spells, oh, it spells tog there, and then that's going to be my tape, and there's going to be none on there. So we've just got 2 bits of tape coming down on here. So we're just going to pop our little red liner tape. Now I do tend to use the red liner tape for when I'm constructing anything, but if you haven't got it, double-sided tape is just as good, but it's just my personal preference. I like to use the red liner tape for construction, and you know, if you've got some really good strong glue like your book binding glue, that's pretty good stuff as well. Okay, so now I've stuck those in between the score lines. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to fold. So I'm just going to fold backwards and forwards, a bit like a concertina for the first bit. So that's now giving us our mounting, and then I'm just going to fold that back, and if I crease that forward like that, that gives you your first hinge. Then you've got the gap, so then I'm going to fold back on the gap, then I'm going to fold over where the tape is, and then I can fold back again on the other bit, and that in essence is our hinge. Okay, so it's having 2 hinges here, and then we're just going to get the bone folder, and we're just going to give those a couple of good creases, and I fold them both ways when I crease, just to make sure that that is all nice and sharp. Okay, and once we've done that, then we're just going to peel off our lovely red liner tape. She says, trying to get her fingers under it. There we go. And I'm just going to squeeze that together, and I'm going to peel off the next one. Okay, and then that's going to stick together like that, and then we'll just give that a nice press down, make sure that's nice and firm. Whoops, get that pencil out the way. There we go. So we should all be done with that. Okay, and then we're going to come to put our hinge into our album. So you want to make sure that your two hinges here are central to where your spine is. So yeah, I can see where the creases are here. That helps me sort of line that up in the middle, so I know roughly where that's going to go. If you're a little unsure, okay, I mean, I'll be honest, I do tend to do some of this by eye, so you can just mark yourself a little pencil line down there, so I know roughly that's where that's got to sit in between. Okay, and it needs to sit sort of central to the cover, so it is a bit shorter than the cover. Okay, and you're coming down about 1/8 of an inch either side, just to give you a heads up on that. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of red liner tape down the middle. So we're going to stick the first bit on. So let's just pop this on here like so, going down the middle. Oh, I've overstuck it on there. I'll have to trim that bit off in a minute. Just cut that little bit off, that's too much. There we go. And then I'm going to add 2 more strips coming down on both sides. Okay, so let's do the outer side first. I'm just going to give that a cut. Okay, oh, a tiny little bit, just take that off. There we go. It's just covered with tape. Oops. And I'm going to do on the other side. Right, where are we? Where's the end gone? There it is. I'm just going to pop this on like so. Snip that, and because I've got this bit of a gap in the middle, I'm just going to put another strip down there. And there we are. There we go. Snip that, and then our final piece. I'm just going to trim that off. Right, okay, so I think we're there now. So I'm just going to give those a good rub down. Now, I always peel off the middle one first, because then I can sort of make sure I've got it lined up before I stick the other ones down. And I will put a little bit of glue on my tape just to give me a little bit of wiggle room. So let's just run a little bit of glue down the centre there. It's more so for this first bit, just to make sure that we get it evenly straight. And I've got those little lines that I drew on there as well, so I've got those to line up against. Okay, and I've come down about 1/8 of an inch and from the bottom as well. So now I can push that one down. Now I'm going to peel off the second bit of tape. I haven't done the end bit yet, and there's a reason for that, because I need to push down in through the fold in a minute. So we'll just stick that next bit down on both sides. Here we go, like so. And now what I'm going to do is, before I stick that final bit down, I'm just going to run my bone folder along there, just so I get that nice crease, so that when I fold that up, it's not going to stretch, so I don't end up with like bat wings coming off of my album. Okay, so now I've given those a good stretch. Now I can peel off these other bits and I can lie that down like so. So now that lies nice and flat, but it now gives me plenty of room to fold that up and down. Okay, and then we'll just do exactly the same on the other side. Here we go. Right, okay, so now I'm just give that another quick rub. That's it. Before I put that down, I'm just going to drop that down on there, and now I should be able to fold that up like so. And there we are, and that is our cover with our 2 hinges. Okay, how's everybody doing? Is everybody all good? Give me a thumbs up. Hi Teresa, nice of you to join us. I'm just going to have a quick slurp of tea, because I always make a cup of tea at the beginning of this, and then by the time I get to the end of the session, it's gone stone cold. Okay, so that is that bit. Right, now we've got our lovely little base pages. These are so cute. They're so cute and dinky. Now with the base pages, these are 4 1/4 by 3 1/4 inch, and what are we going to do? We are going to have it on the 3 3/4 inch side. Okay, and then we're just going to score our 1/2 inch coming down. So that's going to be the part that attaches to our hinge. Okay, so we've got 4 of these. Okay, just put that one down. That's number 2. Here we go. Number 3, and the final piece is number 4. Okay, so there are base pages. So they will eventually, once we put our pockets and bits and pieces on there, they will attach either side of our hinge like so, and that's why you end up getting 4 sides to decorate per hinge. Okay, so they're all done, so I'm just going to pop them to one side. Now Okay, so we've got our closure, but I think we'll come back to doing that in a little bit. We're just going to concentrate now on the inside covers, which are our little stacked pockets. So let me just grab those. Okay, so I've already pre-cut some of the patterned paper, but I haven't cut it all out. I haven't cut all the pieces out because some of these are going to be shaped. Okay, so I've got, these are my base, these will go on the base bit, and then I've got my next two bits that are going up. But because I'm going to do the Mexican dies on these, that will give them the shape. Now, like I said right at the beginning, the measurements are, when I wrote it, it was because I was doing the cutting of the, you know, the fancy edges. Now, if you haven't got these, but you've got edge dies, then obviously you can use those. Okay, so this is what I was saying earlier. When you look at your when you look at the measurements that I've put for the patterned papers, is just to be aware that you might need to make slight adjustments on those. Okay, just to make them sit on your covers and so forth, and your pages. All right, so let me just split this out. So we've got what we have. Hi Rita, welcome for joining. Where are you from? Give me a little heads up, that'd be lovely. So I'm just marking these out. So I quite like that one at the beginning, going far away and then coming back all changed. I'm just putting it, I know they're just off camera a little bit, but I'm just trying to sort out my sides as to what I'm doing. They're going to be the back panels. So I'm just going to pop that up there for the minute. Let's just clip those on like so. Little, that's it, tuck you in there. Right, so we're going to start with these. So this is what I'm going to be doing. And these are my pattern papers that I've got here already. So I've not inked these or done any faux stitching, but I have on the background ones already, because these are going to be cut. But first of all, we need to do our scoring of our pockets. So let me get my little scoreboard out. So just pop these on here. Okay, so for our middle pocket, we'll just start with that for the minute. For our middle pocket, you need to score on the 4 3/4 inch side. So when I write my patterns, that's what I mean when I say the side that you're going to score on is the side that's at the top. Okay, and for this we are going to score at 1/2 inch, and we're going to score at 4 1/4 inch. So basically you're basically doing 1/2 inch either side of the middle pocket. So while I'm doing that one, I might as well do this one. So that's 1/2 inch and 4 1/4. Okay, I'm putting the score lines in first before I do my fancy cutting, okay, because then I can see how the die is going to sit. And then our bottom pocket, now when I say score 1/2 inch on all 3 sides, basically what I mean is that you've got your top edge here, and then you're going to come down and do 1/2 inch, then you're going to turn it, you're going to do 1/2 inch, then you're going to turn it, and then you're going to do 1/2 inch. So you end up with 1/2 inch around 3 sides, okay, because we want the length there for the pocket that's going to sit on top of the front bit there. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same on this one. So we're going to do 1/2 inch, then I'm going to turn that and do 1/2 inch. I'm going to turn that and we're going to do 1/2 inch there. So I'm just going to pop this out the way. Okay, so here we are, we've got my pockets already scored, ready to go. So I'm just going to get my little Mexican whiskers. Now in the set you get 4, you get 2 large ones and 2 small ones. So for this I think I actually used the smaller ones. Let me just double check. which ones I did, because they do come up slightly different dimensions. Yes, I did. Okay, so I've got the two. I've got the large one which will cut the black bit out, and then I've got the smaller one which will cut the patterned paper out, which will allow it to sit nicely on our paper. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that little one, I'll just pop that up there out the way. Now when I cut these, what I did was I took this whisker, I sort of centered it where it was going to be, because obviously you've got your score lines here, so you're not really going to see those bits, but I took the die right to the very edge of where I cut that pocket. Okay, so that's what I've done. I've taken it right to that very edge, and let me find my little sandwich. I've got my little, so I'm going to, hopefully that's going to fit in on there. Oh, just on this machine. Right, okay, so I'm just going to pop that on there, right to the very edge of the die. I've worked out that it's nice and even on there, so I'm just going to tape that on there like so, and then I'm going to put my little plate on the top. It is a bit close to the edge. I think when I was doing this originally, I did do it on my bigger machine, but I'll be honest, I can't get my big machine on the table, so we're going with our little mini one, and hopefully it will cut. So I'm just going to pop that in. I'm just going to take that through and we'll see if that cuts. That didn't sound like it did anything. I might have to put a shim on that. Oh no, it has done it. Phew! Okay, so as you can see here, it's just cut that, and then these little bits here, I'm just going to, well, you could snip them off, but I'm just going to give that a little tear. So that is one pocket done. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the other pocket. So I'm literally going to line that up right against, so that edge of the die is right against the edge of the paper, and we're just going to line that up nicely. Looks fairly even, and we're going to pass that through the machine. There we go, like so. And as you can see here, and then I can just sort of tear those bits off for the minute because they will be folded behind. So that is our base pockets cut already, and then literally I'm just going to repeat exactly the same on the smaller ones. Okay, these will fit a little bit better. Who have we got? Come on, is it Marcia? Welcome, Marcia. To try and keep an eye out who's popping up on my little feed. Like I said, please do say hello. Let me know where you're from, if you're crafting along with me, or whether you're going to wait until I've finished and then go back and watch the video, which is absolutely fine. Right, okay, so again I'm doing exactly the same. So I'm just putting that die to the edge, clipping that on. I'm just going to pop that through. I love this. It's called a baby blue, but me and my silliness, I call it my baby bell. Don't ask me why. It just happened. I happened to say it one day, and that was it, and it stuck. I just called it a baby bell now. So yeah, it doesn't take much to please me. Right, okay, and then we're on our final stacked pocket. So again, I'm just lining it up so you can see why it was a good idea to put my score lines in, because then I can see exactly what's going to be covered or not. So I'm going to make sure that I've got that nice and evenly spaced, like so. Here we go. Come on, little baby belt. Right, okay, we're coming through there. Okay, I'm just going to take that one out, and I can just take those little bits off like so. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that to one side because we will need that again as we move through. So we've got our pockets, our top pockets, or our middle pockets rather, and then we've got our base ones. So let's prep our pockets. So where I've scored round the 3 sides, I'm going to put red liner tape on both of those. So here we go. How's everybody doing? Are we all with me? Oh, Rita's not crafting along, but but missed a start. Okay, that's absolutely fine, Rita. At the end of the day, you do what's best for you. And if you missed it at the beginning, I did mention that although these videos get stay on Facebook for about 30 days, in the next couple of days I will upload it onto our YouTube channel. So do pop over there and have a little look. We've got loads of other projects on there as well. And also for the projects that we've got on there, most of them have all got cutting and scoring instructions which are on our shop. So you're more than welcome to sort of go in there and download those as well. So just to give you a heads up. Oh, and please like and subscribe as well for us. We're really trying to build up our lovely little community, and every little bit helps, trust me. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that one along there, and then we're coming along here, and we're just literally just popping these round like so. Whoops, lost the end again. Okay, so there are 2 base pockets, and these are our little middle pockets. I'm just going to put a little bit of red liner tape on either side of those as well. So we've got that all done, and then we can start to put these inside covers together. Okay, now those of you that have watched me a couple of times, I don't normally decorate my album outside until everything's finished on the inside, just to sort of try and protect the papers a little bit, because all this manhandling of our pages and album as we're going along. So I tend to do that at the end. Well, I haven't told you what papers I'm going to be using. Yes, Rita, yes, absolutely. Discovered Crafty Wafty, I think via Paul. Yes, you did. I'm not sure, were you the lady who went, did you go to Cool Cats the other Saturday to watch his demo? Yes, Paul, it was lovely to meet Paul for the first time. We've chit-chatted, because he's been doing a couple of little bits and pieces for us. If you've seen any of his walkthrough videos and the Ruston Revs, and he's currently working on something for us for the Wanderlust collection, the 49er Market stuff, which is just beautiful. So I'm really excited to see those come out when he's finished them. Okay, right, so our middle pockets, we just need to fold back on our bubble, as it were, where we've scored it. Okay, so I'm just doing that out the way. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the other one, and just pop that on there like so. So there are 2, so they're already pre-scored. Now, those of you that have seen me do our pockets before, okay, basically we're going to cut across the diagonal so that we come through where the 2 score lines are. So as we come through to those score lines, then we just give it a little wonky bit, and then we cut that, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So we cut to the middle, and then we do a little wonky bit like so. And I'm going to repeat that as well. There is a reason why we do the little wonky bit. It's not me going completely mad, but I'm going to cut to the score lines and then do a little wonky bit. And then we come along here and cut to the centre and then do a little wonky bit. And the reason why we do the wonky bit is that when we fold it over, hopefully we don't have a lot of bulk in the corner and that those edges lie down nice and flat, like so. Phew, I'm so glad that worked. That would have been awful, wouldn't it, if I'd sort of said, oh yeah, it'll be absolutely fine, and then we do it and I completely messed it up. I'm only human, I promise, at the end of the day. Right, okay. So now we've got our pockets and we've got our middle pockets and we've got our background. Okay, so I'm just going to pop those over there for the moment. Okay, so how do we put our pockets on? So I always put my pockets so that they come almost to the bottom of the album. I leave it just a little bit, probably like a 1/16 of an inch if we're really going to go into detail. Okay, but I do make sure that I centre it in the middle of the album cover and that it's not right over to where that fold is on our cover there, where the spine is. So I try and sort of centre it just to see how that's going to sit. So I know that that's going to be absolutely perfect. So what I do is I will take off the red liner tape and I add a little bit of glue, give it a little wiggle. Okay, and it's just so that I can make sure that that folds up, and then I'm going to get that fold and I'm going to pop that down so I know roughly where I'm going. I'm just going to pop that on, and that is the base bit of the pocket stuck down. Okay, and now I've done the base bit, I can now just fold these next two bits down. So I'm just going to peel those off. Lovely red liner tape, here we go, and just going to tuck that in and fold down one end, and then I'm going to tuck in the other end and fold that down like so, and that is one pocket in. Okay, so you've got a little bit of room there. All right, and then I'm going to take my middle pocket, and this has got to tuck underneath that first one, and it will just sit on this edge. So let me show you, because it's probably a bit easier. So where your pocket is now, this edge here is going to slide underneath that tab a bit, and it's going to sit so it rests on top of that pocket here in the corners. Okay, so you can see where it's sort of lined up. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. And this is I will be honest, this is a little bit fiddly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the red liner tape off both sides with a little bit of glue, and we're just going to go for it. Oops, thought I'd put you in the bin a little bit. Red liner tape sticks to you like anything, this stuff. Right, okay, here we are. We're going to add a little bit of glue. Oh, good question, Rita. Right, the black card that we use, we've got it in our shop. It's Crafter's Companion. I think it's 200, it's either 40 or 50 GSM. I'll have to double check. And it's you get 50 sheets. 12 by 12 though is that one. Okay, and I think it's about £11 something, so I think it's really good value. Okay, right, I'm just going to slide that in. Okay, and I'm just going to hold that in place like so. So that's just tucked in, and I've just made sure that those fold edges link up with the rest of that. So that's gone in just nicely. And then we're going to turn that round. Oh, turn it round, and I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. Okay, now I have noticed I have got my pocket a little bit over to the inside, so just to make sure I set it up right, I'm going to do it exactly the same on the other side. That's probably too much talking, Deb, and not enough looking at what you're doing. But hey ho, when you guys come to do this, you'll have plenty of time to make sure that you get it done evenly. So anyway, I think I was going to say something about the paper that I'm going to decorate this with. Right, you can see there's a couple of bits on there. Anybody want to hazard a guess what paper range I'm using? See, or what make of paper I'm using, you know, what company. See if you can have a little guess as to what I'm using. It's just a tiny little bit there, just to sort of show you. Just for a little bit of fun, see if you can guess what that is. Okay, and I'm just going to peel off these other bits. Now, what I love about these little albums is that these are great, a lovely idea for like putting little holiday snaps in. If you want to gift it for somebody for Christmas, maybe. Well spotted, Rita. We'll just see if anybody else catches on what it is. And look, it stopped sticking to my fingers. But great, you know, you can put all sorts of little bits and pieces in. Perhaps you've been away for a weekend, you know, maybe you might have some or theatre tickets or something like that. But yeah, so it's a nice little album. And actually, you're clever with your photos. This album, as tiny as it is, you could potentially get up to about 40 odd photos in here, which I just think is amazing. Okay, so again, like I did before, I'm just going to tuck that under there. I put glue on the tape to give it a bit of wiggle room. Just tuck you in, and we're just going to line you up like so. I'm just going to hold you down like that for a minute. Oh, would you believe it? That is pretty much our stacked pockets put on already. How cool is that? I think that looks really, really fab. Okay, people are still guessing as to the papers. Okay. Right, I did alter very slightly my instructions, and I have uploaded the alterations. Okay, but if you know, if you want a nice copy without any scribbles all over it, then do pop over and re-download it. But the couple of little tweaky bits that I did was the patterned papers. So when I was putting the patterned papers in here, I mentioned that this was, I do believe I said it was 3 inches and 5/8 for the base. Okay, because that will slide in beautifully. But these were slightly wrong. These I'd cut at 3.5, and what I'd like to do is make sure that I've got the line coming down looking exactly the same as it goes. So I have cut these slightly bigger, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. Okay, this is what I'm saying. It was a bit awkward when I was writing this up, because I've cut it as to how the papers were going to be, and yeah, but just to give you a heads up, I've changed that. So these pieces I've already done, and these will just tuck in here, and I'll glue and stick those down. Okay, but basically they slide all the way down, and I know some people do put half a thing, but I like to have a full page underneath there, because then I know that when I'm sliding other things in, it's got a nice smooth run to it. Okay, so that just goes through nicely like that. Okay, so let's do our little pockets. So exactly the same as I did before. Okay, I literally am taking the smaller die, which I put over here, because I want it to cut in a little bit smaller to give me that nice edging. No, actually I didn't. I lie. I used the same one. I think I used the big one and pulled it down a bit. Yes, I did. I used the big one and pulled it down a little bit. Okay, right. So again, this is my bottom paper. So I'm just going to line that edge right up to the top, and I'm just going to make sure it's evenly spaced across that bit of paper. Whoops. Stay still. A little bit fiddly, but we get there in the end. Right, okay. I think I'm pretty much there. Here we go, and I'm just going to pop that on. And we're just going to cut this out. I'll be honest, you know, I mean, if you're somebody who doesn't want to mess around with these and go through and cut yours down to fit your pocket, that's absolutely fine. Let me just double check. Right, okay, so now you can see that that just slightly sits in. Let me just tuck that one underneath so you can see what that is. So it's just giving me a slight edge of black, which is what I was after, and that's why I changed the dimensions a little bit as well. Okay, so I'll just sort of pop that on there like so. Okay, and then the same I will do for this one as well. So I'm just going to cut this one. Okay, whoops, I'll just pop that on there like so. I'm just going to tuck that one on there. Okay, I'm just going to put that through on that one, and there we are. Okay, and that gives me the other one. Okay, so it's just sort of playing with these. Now I have noticed that this is cut slightly short from what I wanted on there, but that'll be fine. And then that one will tuck in just under there, and then you get that image coming across like so. I'll just sort of take that in like that. I think I cut these slightly shorter, but you get the idea. Okay, so I'm not going to glue these down because what I want to do is I want to ink them and I want to faux stitch them as well. So I will get those done, but I just wanted to show you what I did on those, and then when we come back next week I can show you exactly what I've done for those. So I'm just going to tuck those in there so I don't lose those bits. All right, so the papers that I am using, those of you who guessed correctly, is Graphic 45. It's an older collection. I've had it stuck in my stash for ages, absolutely ages, and I've never really found any time to sort of use it, but it's called Come Away With Me, and it's just beautiful papers. So the front covers that I'm going to be using is, look at that. I mean, it's just, I mean, this was on a bigger page and I've cut it down. So we've got Italia, Italy, here we've got London and so forth. So it's got, you know, it's absolutely beautiful papers, and the colour palette is gorgeous. So this is what I used to cut out, and that's what I'm going to decorate it with. So that's my outside. I'm just going to pop that to one side. So well done, those of you who guessed Graphic 45. Okay, now I've done the inside pocket, so I'm just going to put that to one side because we're just going to concentrate on our pages now. So we've got our little base pages, so we're going to take one and we're going to work with that. So in our little album here, we've got the stacked pockets. So we've got this one, which is what I call my vertical pocket. Okay, and it's got a couple of little mats in there. It's just got the backdrop there, so that's what we're going to do. Now, because it's vertical, we put it together exactly the same way as we did our base pocket. All right, so nothing too complicated. I'll just make sure, apart from having hundreds of magnets sticking to everything, they're coming up late. Okay, so I've already cut my bits out, so that's going to be in the back pocket, that's going to be at the front pocket on the side. So because it's going to be a pocket, we're going to score 1/2 inch round the 3 sides. So let's just do that. Okay, so just because it's vertical doesn't make it any different to any other pocket. We've just literally turned the orientation round of it from horizontal to vertical. Okay, and now that I've scored on the 3 edges here, just checking to make sure, so that's going to fit nicely once I trim that down. And I need to put my red liner tape round the 3 sides. So let's just pop that on like so, and it's just a repeat. So now we're starting to work on the pages, and this is when the album starts coming together. But I don't normally, for those of you who haven't watched me before, I don't normally add the papers until, oh, the pages, until all the pages are done and decorated, because then I might want to move them around a little bit, you know, change the order that I've done them, depending on what papers I've decorated them with and so forth. So this is what I like about these little album designs, that you can do that right at the very end if you want to. Okay, so again I'm going to cut diagonally across to where the cross point is of the score lines, and I'm going to give it a little wonky bit, and then I'm going to do exactly the same, come to the score lines, and then I'm going to give it a little wonky bit. So, and then we're going to fold on those lines there. I can see that that's coming on there, and I am going to give that a nice little edge on there like I did before. So just bring these out, and what have I done with my die? Oh my goodness, honestly Deborah, you would be, oh there it is, it's right in front of me. Do you know, I was doing this the other morning, I was trying to find something, and it was absolutely in front of me, and I couldn't see it for toffees, as they say. All right, so I'm just going to line this up, and I'm using the bigger one out of the 2 again. Just going to line that up on there. I'm going to stick that on. And we're just going to pop that through the machine. So take that off, that's cut my edge. Now because I'll put a little bit of red liner tape on there, I better snip that off actually. I was a little bit ahead of myself there, but that's fine. And we're just going to snip that bit off. So that pocket is now ready to add on to our base page. But I do need to cut this bit, and I'll probably find that I might need to trim this down just a little bit once I've cut it. So let's just pop that on. We'll see how we go. Like I said, when I came to do this album the first time round, it was very much a bit of trial and error, I'll be honest. And like I say, with any of the patterned papers, you know, do sort of just double check the measurements as you're going through if you're using edger dies. So if that was to sit on the pocket like that, I can see that I'm slightly out on this side, so I might need to just trim that off a little bit. So we'll do that. Just trim that off a little bit. Where did I put my knife? There we go. Let's see how that sits. That's not too bad. That pocket's coming round just on there. I think maybe a little bit off the other end. Just take a little bit off either end. There we go. We'll just see how that looks. I'm just showing you really what to, what to do just in case it doesn't quite fit. At the end of the day, sometimes these things happen, and this is what we need to do. Okay, so I'm just seeing that fits in a little bit better. It fits in across the bottom, which is all good. But again, I need to go around and ink that and do my faux stitching, so I probably won't do that until after. Well, I won't stick that on until after I've finished it. So I think we are sort of there. Okay, but we'll pop the pocket on anyway, so you can just see what that looks like. So here's my pocket, and just the same as before. Now remember, on the base page you have your scored 1/2 inch line, so the pocket has got to come just the other side of that to sit on there. Okay, and again I'm just going to center that in on that page, but I've come away from that hinge fold a little bit because I don't want it to sit right on the hinge. Okay, because we need that hinge bit to stick to the main hinge in the album. Okay, so I'm just going to peel this off. I'm going to add a little bit of glue, give me a little bit of wiggle room, like so. Okay, and just going to put that down. Let's just hold it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just making sure I've got that centered. I've come in just a little bit, like so, and now I can peel off the other bits. But if you were going to make this album just straight with the straight edges, then obviously you can sort of just work your way around that. Okay. Oops, and still the red liner tape is sticking to my fingers. Okay, right, we're just going to give that a crease. So that's going to be the bit that's going to go on the outside. This is my pocket that's going to slide in. I think I need to trim that just a fraction as well. Okay, that's fine. We'll just tweak that when we get to it. Okay, in fact, I'm going to just put those two bits to one side because I need to work on the other side of this pocket. All right, so how's everybody doing? Let's just get a shout out, see if everybody's all okay. Now on this side I'm going to flip over, so this is my side 2, and this is, let's just show you in the album. So that's our side 1, our side 2. So this is the one with the flap that opens up, and we've got the little fancy edge, Mexican edge on the top there. And this one also has a magnet included as well. Okay, so we're going to do that. So the pieces that I was going to use for that, I've already sorted these out. So I've got this one. I thought this looks quite nice for a front card, sort of travelling goods. And then we're just going to cut the bottom bit off, and then obviously when you lift up the flap you've got an inside of the flap, so we need to make sure we cut that as well. And then that will be my backing piece that will sit on there. Okay, and our little side piece for side number 2. Now this is 3 1/4 inches by 4 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score on the 4 3/4 inch side a 1/2 inch. So that's just going to bring that down like so. And I'm going to put some red liner tape on there ready. Where's the end? There we are. I'm just going to pop that on there, and we're going to snip that like so. There we go. I'm just going to give that a nice press So that will fold back on the bubble. And I need to do my die cut of the die. Now the problem is that this is too long for the machine to go through, well, the machine that I've got at the moment. So I'm going to put this through my big one. So I'm just going to pop that on there, and again I'm taking that right to the edge, that die, I'm lining it up so I can see where the points are on there. I'm just going to stick that on there, and I'm just going to go over and put that through my bigger machine. So let's just do that and get this through. Pop that on my machine, give that a quick whiz through, like so. Oops, stuck to my machine. Okay. Right, there we are. It'll take 2 seconds. Okay. So this is my bits of paper everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to fold on the bubble, and I'm going to give that a nice crease. And as you can see, there is my cut on the bottom. So like I did with this one here. Okay, and I'm going to pop this onto our page. Now, when you start adding bits at other sides of your pages, then you just need to be a little bit careful to make sure that you've got everything the right way up. Because trust me, I've done this before and I've put something down and then I've realised I've stuck it on upside down. I'm just giving a shout out to Andrew. Welcome, Andrew. So this is my vertical pocket. That's where my hinge is. So if I was flipping that over, that's the side and that's the right orientation. And this flap here is going to stick up here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to peel this off. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my bread liner tape just to give me a little bit of wiggle room. Here we go, like so. And just going to turn that up. Now I'm going to turn this around to the side just so that I can see where I'm putting this hinge. In fact, actually I'm going to turn it upside down. So I have turned it 180 degrees, and I'm just going to stick that on there, and it's going in the corner. That's where my hinge is. So when I look at this now, that's nicely at the top. There's my hinge there to attach to the album. That's the right way up. That's the right way up. We're all good to go. Okay. Now, I'm going to, this is the piece that I'm going to put at the back. Can I suggest you put an arrow on the base page showing right orientation? I find it very helpful. Do you know what? Beautiful idea, Rita. Sometimes I think I like to live dangerously though, you know. But that's a really good tip, so thank you for sharing that, and we've shared that with everybody else. Okay, so here is my base page. Now obviously it's going to cover up some of where that flap is, so that's really good, but I do need to put my magnet on here first, okay, before I stick this down. So here we are. I've got a couple of little magnets. These are 8mm ones, and what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to position that somewhere in the middle there, because when that flap comes down I want to make sure that's really going to cover that. Okay, and I'm just going to add a bit of tape just to hold this particular one in place. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that in place like so. There we go. I'll just give that a little smooth out round there. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to get my magnet and I'm going to drop it on there. I'm going to get a little dobble of glue. Just put a little dob of glue on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this bit down. Press that. I'm going to lift it up, and now I can see where I need to put the magnet on the other side. So when I take this magnet off, I want to put glue side to glue. So I'm just going to pop glue on there to glue. Okay, and then I'm going to cover that with a little bit of the tape. Okay, let's just add that on there like so. All right, and hopefully if I flip that over, yes, it does, it catches. Beautiful. Okay, so now I can stick my bottom bit on there. So let's get a little bit of colour to our pages. Who else have we got watching tonight? Let's have a look. Is that Janine? Welcome, Janine. So I'm going to pop a bit of glue on there, like so. And I'm just going to attach that. Oh, bless you, Rita. Thank you for watching, though, and do catch up with us next week. And the video, as I said, will be on YouTube. Okay. Oh, beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you for doing that. She's going to post a video of her finished album when she's made it. So that's great. Okay. So here we are. So that is our base bit done. Okay. And then I will do exactly the same as I would with these pieces. I would cut those on the machine to fit in. That will be the inside. Now, because this is going on the inside, I need to make sure that I've got the direction right for when I put the die on. Okay, just to make sure that that's going correctly. And then obviously when I come to do that one on the outside, I will do exactly the same. But I'm not gonna carry on with those for now. I'll come back and do those a bit later. But that is our page 1 and page 2 done. Okay, are we ready for page 3? Which is our little acetate pocket. Excuse me, just having a slurp of tea. Right, okay. So we're going to take another base page. Now, this particular one, let me just show you in the album. This particular one was a little bit tricky because I had to sort of think a bit back to front with this because I want the bigger aperture on the outside, but the small one on the inside, which is what was going to house the acetate. Okay, and then obviously doing the bit at the top. So what I used for this was the Mexican pockets, pocket tags. There's the big one and the small one. As I said, these are all from Cool Cats Craft Limited. Okay, and when I first did this, I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little bit cack-handed. I sort of cut out the middle bit, and then I thought, oh yeah, then I've got to cut out the other bit on the paper, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not 100% sure whether I've got that all in line or not. So so we're going to do it a little bit back to front. Okay, you may find that there is an easier option for this. It's just how my brain works, but there we go. So this is my bit of card, which is going to sit on the outside to make the frame. Okay, and what I'm going to do is out of the two of these, I'm going to use the bigger one to cut out my aperture, which is that one. So I'm going to focus that on there. Let's just take it off that page because I don't want to cut through the page. So I'm going to get my card, I'm going to tuck it on here, and this is where the album, this is where the acetate pocket is going to go. Right, let me just put that on there. So I've sort of roughly worked out where I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring that down just a fraction actually. Just make sure I've lined that up nice and centrally, because I'm going to cut this one out first. So let's just get a little bit of tape. Oops. Let's just line that up again. Now having the little dots actually does help try to get a straight edge across. So I'm just going to tack that on there. I'm just going to pop this through the machine like so. Hopefully that holds it in place. Okay, doesn't seem to have moved, so that's good. Right, we're just going to take that through. And now we can see that that is our, it's not quite cut through there. Let's just take that off gently. I'm going to hang on to that because that will be quite handy to use as a decorative piece on one of our photo mats. So we'll just put that to one side. So that's the outer one. Now we need to do the inside one. Okay, so we're just going to pop that to one side. That's our pocket. So this is our page rather. So this is our pocket. Now for the pocket we need to do our 3 sides again. So let's just get this up ready to go. So for the pocket we're going to score on all 3 sides. Now this is slightly different, okay, because you've got 4 1/4 and you've got the 4 3/4. So you need to make sure that the 4 1/4 bit, if I remember rightly, is at the top. Let me just double check. I don't think that is correct. I think I've done it round the wrong way. Oh, I want that to come down a bit. No, I am right. It's okay, just double checking. Right, so we're going to score 1/2 inch and then 1/2 inch and then the other 1/2 inch come in around there. So when that sits on there and that folds in, that is our pocket. Yes, I had done it the right way. I had to think for a minute. Okay, so this is my pocket front here that's going to go in like so. So I'm just lining that up in there so I can see roughly where that's going to go. And obviously the inside one is going to come in just inside of that to cut that out. So I know it's a little bit cheating, but I'm just going to put that in there and I'm going to take that down like so, and then I'm going to cut that through the machine. Where are we? Let's just line that up because I know that I've got to cut the top bit off, but I'm going to worry about that bit in a minute. So let's just put a bit of tape on there like so. That holds that in place on our thing. There we go. Just going to make sure that I've got that lined up because when that is folded back. So this is just sitting inside those 3 score lines coming round. Now if you weren't going to be doing one of these types of pockets on the inside, obviously you can just cut your own rectangle out and it will be easier, but because I'm using this, it's not going to happen. Now this is a little bit bigger for my little machine, so I'm just going to put this through my big one. I'll pop that on there, make sure that's all nice and straight. Fingers crossed it's worked. Oh, this is our moment of truth, everybody. Has this worked? Fingers crossed. Okay, hi Francis, welcome for joining as well. Okay, we have an aperture. Dun dun dun. We have a little mini photo mat. We'll just put that to one side. I'll just gently take off this tape. Now this, hopefully it doesn't ruin my patterned paper. No, that's all good because it is a little bit, this is low tack tape, so we should be all right. Okay, the moment of truth, people. Is that going to sit? Oh, look at that. Oh, that worked perfectly. Do you know what? I wish I had thought of it that way the first time I did this particular pocket, because trust me, if you could have seen me trying to guesstimate where the where this frame was going to go. It was not ideal, but it worked that way. Okay, so what we've got to do now is cut our top bit. So again, I've got the die which is going to sit at the top here, and again I'm just making sure that it's level. I will have to put it through my bigger machine because obviously I can't get it through my little one that I've got on the table. So let's just stick that on there. I'm just going to whip that through so we get that nice edge at the top. Alright, through you go. Back. Right. So that is that bit done, which is the top bit. Okay, and then I just need to do the same on here. So where's my other little plate? I think I took it over to the machine, didn't I? There I did, yes I did. This isn't going to go through either, so I'm going to have to do this on the bigger machine because this die is just a little bit too big for the baby bell. So again, I'm just going to take that right to that top edge, and I'm hoping that that is going to sit and fit just nicely. So let's just move that over. Okay, a little bit of tape on there. Right, I'm going to pop that through my machine, and then we are hopefully good to go then. I think out of any of these particular pages, this one was the trickiest to do because of having the hole in the middle and getting everything else to sort of work around it. So, moment of truth. So if that sits on there, got that nice black edge in. Oh, look at that. I mean, I couldn't have asked for better outcome on that one. Perfect. Okay. So now we've got that, we need to finish doing our pocket. So I've got my little bit of acetate. Now I think I put originally on the acetate 3 inches by I think 3 1/4. Again, you might need to trim it a little bit depending on what you've used to cut out your hole in the middle. Now I'm just looking at that, and that is just a fraction too big. I just want to come in just a little bit, so I'm just going to take a slice off of that. It's always good just to double check your measurements and just to make sure that you're happy with it, because I don't want it to interfere with the fold of the that was a slightly wonky, that one. Just try. It's very difficult to see acetate on a back screen mat like this. There's the edge. That's a straight bit there. I just need to trim that down a bit. I didn't quite cut straight. There we go. Okay. So this is my bit of acetate. All right. And that's the outside of our pocket. So this is the inside. So this will get stuck on the inside like so. So it covers quite nicely the aperture in the middle. And what I'm going to use is some red liner tape to go around that. Now, because this is an odd shape, I can't fiddle around with that. So I'm actually going to add red liner tape to the acetate. Okay. And let me just get... So at the bottom, I know I can afford to put some 9mm red liner tape at the bottom and at the top, but the sides I might need to go down a size and do 6mm, because what I don't want is this to in the way. Let me just test that and see how we're doing. So that will sit on like that. You see, yeah, that's these sides here are a little bit on the thinner side, so I'm just going to put some 6 along here. So that's why it's always good to have different thicknesses of red liner tape to hand, especially for like little fiddly jobs like this. So and as I said earlier, I do believe we are getting our delivery coming very soon in our shop for the red liner tape. Right, okay, so now that's all stuck down on our acetate. I'm now going to peel that off and stick that. So this is coming on the inside where the little bubble is, where we've scored it, so it's the bubble side of our pocket. So I'm just going to peel that off. Now I always use red liner tape for sticking acetate down because I find glue does smudge and it can make a bit of a mess. So I just find that the acetate just works better. But that's just my personal preference. Other people might have other opinions on that. Okay, right, so I'm just going to stick this down. Whoa, not quite. Hold on, not quite ready to stick you down yet. Thank you. Right, okay. Just making sure I come in with those score lines. Okay, that's it. Right, that's down. Oh, excuse me. Right, we're going to rub that over. Give that a good seal. And now I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to add the red liner tape to our 3 sides. So I'm back on my 9mm. Well, I've just put it down. Where have I put it? Oh, there it is. There we go. And we're just going to put this going round the outside, in between where our score lines are, like so. And we're going to come around the other side, like so. There we go, and then we're going to do our final side coming up here. Okay, and then like we do with any pocket, again we're going to cut across the diagonal through where the 2 score lines cross over, and then we're going to give it a little bit of a wonky bit on the other side. So we just come through and give it a little wonky bit, and then I'm going to come up to where the score lines are, give it a little wonky bit, and there we are. Okay, and now I can fold and burnish these folds so that the pocket is ready. That's that corner, that's right, ready to go on. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of cleaning because this is quite static and that in there. So I'm just going to get myself wipe and a tissue. There's a wipe, and let's just grab a tissue. There we go. And we're just going to give that a little clean on the inside, because once it goes down you're not going to be able to do this. So so we'll just do that, and then we'll just get our little bit of tissue and we're just going to clean and dry that off. Okay, and now our pocket is ready to go onto our page. So because this is page 3 or side 3, there's my hinge coming down this side. Okay, and I'm going to pop the pocket on that side so the hinge is on here. So again, I'm just going to peel off the bottom flap bit first. Going to add a little bit of glue to that, give me a little bit of wiggle room. Oh, I've got squeaky glue. And then I'm just going to align that close to the bottom, like so, making sure that I'm not coming right over where the hinge score line is. There we are. And then I can now peel off these other two sides and stick those down. So we're just going to peel that off and peel that off. Just get rid of those, like so. And I'm just going to put one side down first, and then I'm going to come in and drop the other side down, like that. And that is our acetate pocket. So I'm just going to give those another score, and then on the outside here I can give that a little buff up, just give that a little clean, and then I can just go over that with my dry cloth like that. There we are. Okay, and that is our basic acetate pocket done. Now the patterned paper I'm putting inside is this one, so that will slide straight in. Okay, I will have a little bit just sticking up at the top. Okay, so you can see where the pocket starts and finishes, as it were. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that and drop it in. And as I've done, I've gone around and distress inked it. And I have faux stitched all the way around it. It's just habit. I suppose if you're not going to see it, it doesn't really matter. But I think it's just part of me. I just like to make sure that I've covered everything in case somebody poked their nose in and looked down it. Right, okay, so I'm just going to slide that in like so, and I'm just going to leave that with a tiny little bit of the black showing at the top of the pocket. All right, that's just a fraction wonky. Let's just, there we go. Okay, and that's just on there, so that just pops out from the top. Okay, and then this will then be attached to the front, but I will do this bit again once I've gone around and inked it and faux stitched it like I've done on there. And what I love about this acetate pocket is that you can put a photo in there, and then when you lift this up out the way, it reveals a nice pattern paper underneath. And that is our side 3, so I'm just going to hide that in there so I don't lose it. So side 4 is our lovely belly band. So that's our belly band. Okay, and that is on our side 4 here. Now for this one, again, I've used the Cool Cats Crafts Mexican belly band die. So this is what we've got here. They are quite big, these. I'm just going to take them out. So we've got one slightly bigger than the other. So the big one is what I'm going to use for cutting out the black first of all. So these are my papers to do for this. So let's just pop that to one side. I've also got my backing paper as well. And I've also found a nice little tag that was in with the Graphic 45 paper range that I'm using, so I'm going to cut that out as well, and I'll have that as a tuck in the back of the belly band as well as the photo mat, just to give it a bit of added interest. Okay, so with this one then, we're not going to pop this on first. We need to do our belly band bit. Okay, so I've pre-cut this, so I'm hoping that this is going to be just enough to sit on there. I think that is probably just going to trim off that bit. Okay, so that looks like that will sit on. Okay, on the back. And again, I'm just trying to make sure that I've got it fairly evenly spaced. So I'll just see where my measurements are. like so, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of tape to hold this in place. And now that's held down, I can just double check those measurements, see if I need to move it along a little bit. Let's just see how close I was with my eye. So that's about 1 inch and 1/8. And I'll come around the other side, and that is 1 inch and almost 1/8. So it's a smidge. I'm not going to worry about that. You know what, that's as close as I'm going to get it, and I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to pop this through my die cutting machine. Here we go. I'm just going to pop that. Oh, that's my B plate. Where'd my A plate go? There it is. And then we're just going to pop that through the machine, and hopefully that will work out just fine. There we are. So how's everybody else doing? Deborah, I know you're working alongside with me. How are you getting on? Give me a little thumbs up just to make sure you're okay. I don't know if anybody else is running alongside us as well. Like I've said before, if you want to make this, the video will be up on YouTube, and our instructions, our cutting and scoring instructions are in the shop. Okay, so here we are. This is our, oh, I've got a thumbs up. I'm assuming she's all good to go. She's probably busy concentrating, bless her. Okay, so with our lovely page 3, so we're turning that over, page 4, because this is going to sit in the center here, and this is where I need to put my score lines. So if I've measured this correctly, by doing a 1/2 inch either side should be just about right. So let's pop this onto our little scoreboard. I'm just going to tuck that on there. Who else have we got come on tonight? Let's have a little look for a minute. Oh, we've got Gemma. Hi, Gemma, as well. Perfect. Do pop in a little I'm doing okay. Thank you for that, Susie. Right, okay, so I'm just going to score 1/2 inch like so, and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do 1/2 inch again on the other side. Okay, all right, I'll just pop that out of the way. All right, moment of truth, we're just going to fold those over and just see how that sits on our page like that, and that's not bad going. Look at that, that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of red liner tape to those 2 ends. I'll just tuck a little bit on there. Cokes. And then we're going to turn that round, and we're going to do a little bit on the other side. Okay, just trim that off. Right, give those a little burnish. There we go. All right, so my hinge is now on this side. I'm just going to fold those over, and this will sit to the center of that page. So again, if you want to get a ruler out, we can just sort of measure to see how far I've come in. As close, near as, that's about, well, if that is 3/4 of an inch, let's just butt that up against there. Let's see what that is on the other side. Bearing in mind I've got my 1/2 inch. That's one up right. Okay, so I've come in at 3/4 of an inch. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a little pencil mark either side, like so, so that I know that's my widest part for when I come to stick this on. So we're going to take off the bottom bit. Gonna add a little bit of glue because I might need a little bit of wiggle room. We love a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, and now we're going to sort of set that down and make sure that that is in line with those pencil marks. That's fairly straight. There we go. That's pretty good going. And then I can just do the other side. Now, because this pattern on this belly band is exactly the same pattern either end, I'm not too worried about if I'd stuck it upside down or not, but if you were having one with a slightly different pattern to it, then you would need to check that. Okay, let's just tuck that in. All right, so there we are. So that is our belly band on. Okay, making sure that's the top of my page. This is my bit of pattern paper that's going underneath. So I've already cut that. So now you can see where the belly band is. That really pops now. Now I've put the patterned paper behind it. So let's glue that in place. I'll just give this a little, like so. Okay, and we're just going to lift that up. I'm just going to slide that in, just making sure it goes over where those flaps have folded over underneath the belly band. And I'm just going to make sure that I've straightened that up. So I've got a nice black edge going all the way round. And now it's just the belly band that's going to go on the top. So I'm just checking that my measurements for the paper that I've cut to go on there are going to fit on there as well. Now I'm coming slightly off of that edge, so let me just get the other one. I think when I cut these, I cut it so that that edge would just come off. So I just need to make sure that I get that centered. Okay, right, so I'm just going to put that down on the paper for the minute, and again I just need to move this up or down a bit just to make sure that I've got the right amount of space on either end. Right, so let's just tank that down for a minute. Right, and we'll give this another measurement and we'll see how we're doing with this one. Where are we? Okay, so this is, oh, it's about 1/2 inch to that end there. Let's turn that round. I think that's probably a little bit longer. It looks like it's a little bit longer. Oh, it's just a smidgen. I'm not going to worry about a smidge. Okay. So we're going to pop this through the die machine. Just making sure that's sort of central to the back. Okay, because when that sits on there, that's going to, whoops, I'm stuck by the magnets there. Okay, I'm going to pop that on there. Pop this in our machine. Fingers crossed that's going to work. Okay, let's just take off these little bits. I really like these belly bands because the patterns are just so lovely. All right, let's just see. Oh, look at that. That sits on there fairly well. In fact, that end looks a little bit longer. Let's turn that round up the other way. Oh. There we go, that fits beautifully on there. So again, all I need to do is go round and ink and do my faux stitching, and that is our page 4 done. So let me just pop that little photo mat back in there. But I've got this little tag here that I'm going to trim down, and that will tuck in there along with a photo mat as well. And that is our page 3 and 4 done. So we're zooming through this quite nicely. Now normally I would work up until sort of like 9 o'clock, but to be honest, I had put on here that it will be till 9:30 because I really wasn't 100% sure how long this was going to take to do, in terms of like doing all the die cutting and everything else as well. But if people are happy for me to carry on, then I'm more than happy to do that. Or we can call it a night, and then next week we'll just carry on with the other 4 pages and take it from there. So if anybody wants to give me a shout and let me know what you would like me to do, I'm more than happy to go and do maybe a couple of the other pages, maybe some of the simpler ones. I wasn't going to do the accordion page just yet. I was probably going to leave that because that's a little bit more involved, and with our little magnet, so I might leave that one for next week. But I could certainly show you what I did here with the circle cut. Cut one out. If should we do that? What does everybody think? I know Deborah's doing this along route. Shall we do that one? Shall we do a couple of these simple ones, maybe the little diagonal pocket? Or shall we call it a night? What do we think? Because I'm quite happy to go with one way or the other, because the only other page we've got left to do is the flap one on the back, and as I said, the accordion page. Just wait to see if anybody's looking in. Yours is looking great. Thank you, Susie. Yeah, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. Deborah, I need to shoot off and get myself sorted for tomorrow, Deborah. Okay, that's absolutely fine, Deborah. So I tell you what we'll do is we'll call it a night there. I think we've done really well, because you would have your outside cover done. We've done 4 pages as well. We've done our stacked pockets inside there. So all we're literally left to do next week then is our accordion page, our little circling cut page, our diagonal and our little flap one, and the closure and just the outside. And I think we'll have plenty of time to do that and put that all through. Okay. All right, Susie, that's no problem. All right. So we'll call it a night. And, oh, that's an interesting... Small world. I'm going for lunch with... Ah, yes, I know that lovely lady, Deborah. So that's nice. Say hi to her. Give her a big hug from me. Okay. All right. Well, everybody take care. And I'll catch up with everybody next week then. Same time, same place. All right. Take care. Bye.